Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Jaladeva, Jaya Subhadramai. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotra Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotra Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. At ISKCON Sydney Temple. For the regulars and the newcomers, we welcome you to Radha Gopinath's temple. We hope you have a nice visit. If you're watching online, thank you for attending. Today we are reading from the 4th canto, chapter 8. I think it's text 79. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato jayam udirayet Shrinvatam swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay. Yeah, chapter 8, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home. We're reading from text 79. Yadaikapade nasaparti varbakas Tastho tarangushta nipiditamahi Nanama tatrardhamibhendra dishtita Tari vasavye tarataha pade pade Yadaikapade nasaparti varbakas Tastho tarangushta nipiditamahi Nanama tatrardhamibhendra dishtita Tari vasavye tarataha pade pade Yadaikapade nasaparti varbakas Tastho tarangushta nipiditamahi Nanama tatrardhamibhendra dishtita Tari vasavye tarata pade pade. Okay, so good. Okay, so translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. As Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on, sorry, I'll go word for word first. Yada, when, eka, with one, padena, leg, saha, Dhruv Maharaj, Parthiva, the king's, Arbhakaha, child, Tastho, remained standing, Tarangushta, his big toe, Nipidita, being pressed, Mahi, the earth, Nanama, bent down, Tatra, then, Ardham, half, Ibha Indra, the king of elephants, Dhishtita, being situated, Tariva, like a boat, Savya Itarataha, right and left, Pade Pade, in every step. Okay, translation. As Dhruv Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on one leg, the pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right with every step. Purport. The most significant expression in this verse is Parthivarbhakaha, son of the king. When Dhruv Maharaj was at home, although he was a king's son, he was prevented from getting on the lap of his father. But when he became advanced in self-realization or devotional service, by the pressure of his toe, he could push down the whole earth. That is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. In ordinary consciousness, a king's son may be refused something even by his father. But when the same person becomes fully Krishna conscious within his heart, he can push down the earth with the pressure of his toe. One cannot argue, how is it that Dhruv Maharaj, who was prevented from getting up on the lap of his father, could press down on the whole earth? This argument is not very much appreciated by the learned, for it is an example of Nagna Matrika logic. By this logic, one would think that because his mother in her childhood was naked, she should remain naked even when she is grown up. The stepmother of Dhruv Maharaj might have been thinking in a similar way. Since she had refused to allow him to get up on the lap of his father, how could Dhruv perform such wonderful activities as pressing down the whole earth? She must have been very surprised when she learned that Dhruv Maharaj, by concentrating constantly on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, could press down the entire earth like an elephant who presses down on the boat in which it is loaded. We'll go through the Mangalacharan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kedamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhei Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So before we start, I just want to request the blessings of all the Vaishnavas assembled here today. I'm not very learned, don't have much bhakti in my heart, so there's a high chance I'll say something incorrect or something offensive, so I'm asking your forgiveness now before that happens. Yeah. But I want to sort of try and tailor the class towards Srila Prabhupada's purport most of all, because I found it quite interesting when I was reading through. The thing that stood out for me in the verse was this metaphor of the elephant in the boat, kind of rocking the boat as a vivid image of the level of yogic potency which Dhruva Maharaj had cultivated by following these instructions of his spiritual master. Doing this severe austerity, reducing his eating, reducing his water, even reducing his breathing till he's holding one breath, and just standing there on one toe, as you can see in the beautiful picture on the whiteboard. And he's just by following this process, he's amassing this really profound tejas, the effulgence and the power that comes with yogic practice. And so we see that the whole earth is now under the pressure of his toe. But instead of focusing on this, Prabhupada actually singled out a specific word. I think it's Parthi Varbhakaha, so the son of the king. And to me that didn't seem very significant, but actually he pulls so much nectar out of this one word, because he's sort of addressing a critical point in the whole story of Dhruva Maharaj, which is this shift of his character which takes place. We see at the start, despite being a prince, the son of the king, he's denied access to the lap of his own father. We can understand this through spiritual knowledge. We can say, of course, it doesn't matter what material position we achieve, what kind of level of material happiness we've kind of worked ourselves towards, still there will always be some limitations set on that happiness by Maya, because we've taken shelter of Maya, of Krishna's illusory energy, to try and achieve some sense of happiness through senses meeting their sense objects. We come to this material world to enjoy separate from Krishna, right? Our original nature is service to the Supreme Lord, because service is blissful, it's full of real, authentic consciousness, and it's joyfully performed, and therefore it's the only eternal happiness. But we don't want to remain in that position. We want to experience what it's like to be Krishna. Because we have this envy. Actually, the first thing that Lord Brahma creates when he brings the cosmic manifestation, he starts working with the cosmic manifestation by the empowerment of Krishna. The first thing he creates is Tamishra. Tamishra is sort of like the original like root cause of all other material desires, and it's this deep, dark ignorance that's required to hate Krishna, to envy Krishna. And that's there in all of our hearts, which is pretty hard to admit when we're coming to the temple and singing in front of Radha Krishna every day. But if we have any material desires still in our heart to enjoy separately from Krishna, then we have this tamishra, and because that is the root of all that contamination. So like that, we see that Dhruv Maharaj, he's seeking this this happiness through a material designation, the sense of being loved by his own father, having a sense of a right to enjoy in that sense, because he is the son of that father and because he is the prince. But yeah, we see no one here is I don't think from the royal order, but even someone who is still limited in how they can enjoy in this material world. Yet every day we go out and we think that we can achieve happiness. Actually, there's 4 aspects to suffering in the material world, which I always find quite interesting to think through, because well, first of all, there's the happiness when we want something that we don't have. Of course, there's suffering because there's this lack. Secondly, there's suffering when we want something we don't have, but now we're working towards achieving it. So there's this sort of struggle that we all go through to get to some future point. This struggle for existence in the material world is just there. It's always there. So no happiness comes, just for nothing. We always have to work. Thirdly, even when we get this happiness which we've been so invested in and attached to, there is suffering, because first of all, either it doesn't meet our expectations. So we've created this whole notion of, when I get this thing, I will be happy. We get it, and we're not happy. So then we have this remorse, this guilt, like, oh, I've just wasted all this time, all this energy, and this isn't even what I thought it was. Then we start desiring something else. So this is the first, the third suffering of material desires. And the fourth is, we get the thing we wanted, and it is what we expected. And yet there's still suffering, because now we have this anxiety of holding on to this thing, because we know at some point we will have to let it go. If the world doesn't take it away from us, we'll be taken away from the world. So at some point. So every material happiness has suffering built into it, and this sort of backstory of Dhruv Maharaj is a way of observing that. But as Prabhupada is pointing out, there's this change that occurs. Something happens to Dhruv Maharaj where he is no longer the son who wasn't allowed access to his father's lap. Now he is this 5-year-old boy with the capacity to push the entire earth down with his big toe. So what happened? Why is Dhruv Maharaj now suddenly this completely new person? Does anyone have any ideas? Yeah. Haribol. Yeah, so he became a devotee, basically. The mercy of the Vaishnava is a very rare and special thing in this world, but we say that only by the mercy of a Vaishnava can we achieve the mercy of Krishna, and only by the mercy of Krishna can we start to cultivate this seed of bhakti, the bhakti lata bij. So there's this idea that bhakti is like this frail little creeper, like a vine that grows up all the way from the lowest planetary system all the way up to beyond the highest, all the way through the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence of Krishna, into the spiritual world. And this creeper is given to us by a Vaishnava, the seed of this creeper. And so Dhruv Maharaj, he gets the instruction from his mother, yes, go to the forest, perform austerity, and seek out the supreme absolute truth. Find the answer to this problem once and for all. So she encourages him to go and search for the supreme truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, Shri Krishna. So yeah, while he's out there, Dhruv Maharaj, he's now taken this instruction. He's following the first instruction given to him by a Vaishnava. Again, that's also a really critical point, is that he receives this bona fide knowledge, and he honors it. With sincerity and determination, he changes his action and behavior, and he's now following this instruction. So that from this sincerity, Krishna arranges. When Krishna sees the sincerity of his devotee, he arranges and comes before him in the form of a guru. We say, Guru Rupa Krishna Kripa Karena Bhakta Gane. So Krishna, the spiritual master, is actually Krishna's mercy, the form of Krishna's mercy. So Narad Muni appears in the scene. Always a nice moment in one of these pastimes when Narad Muni appears. Things are about to get interesting, and they definitely do. Dhruv Maharaj now gets the instruction to perform these austerities, and that's how this whole pastime unfolds in the forest. And so we're sort of coming to the climax of not devotional service, but at least it's a significant point in his yogic process. So yeah, like we understand that for us, we're not out in the forest doing yoga postures and like pranayama and holding our breath and trying to achieve. We're not trying to achieve this power which Dhruva Maharaj has come to of pushing the whole earth down with his big toe. That's not a goal for us, but this is because we are here in the age of Kali, the Kali Yuga, and we have a specific dharma for this age. So it's said in the scriptures that Yagyaya Sankirtana Prayayar Yajanti hi Sumedasaha. There is actually no other bona fide sacrifice or yagya offering to perform in the age of Kali except for congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So that's why we come to the temple and we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because this is actually our only way to achieve spiritual success in this age. We say Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, 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 Gati Aranyata. So 3 times it's emphasized the holy name, the holy name, the holy name of Krishna is the only way of achieving spiritual success in this age of Kali. And there's a reason for that. We don't just say it and expect people to, okay. There's a reason for that. I was listening to a talk by Indrajumna Maharaj yesterday, and he was speaking about the Bhakti Sandarbha, where Jiva Goswami, he points out that actually the Hare Krishna Mahamantra was available in every yuga. And not just fully available, but equally potent in every yuga. So why weren't these yogis and great sages and sadhus, why weren't they doing Harinam Sankirtan? Where he explains that only in the Kali Yuga are things so deteriorated, has society become so chaotic, and has suffering become so acute and like prominent in the lives of every living entity, that there is this level of despair and level of suffering which drives one to call out to Krishna with pure sincerity. Like it's through this iron age of Kali where suffering has become so extreme that we become qualified to receive this Mahamantra, not qualified or deserving to receive it, but when we perform this congregational chanting, it is especially designed for the people of this age. So that's how we can understand the devotional service. And to bring it back to this word, what is it? Partivarbhagaha. Srila Prabhupada sort of gives an example, like a counter example of a logic that would challenge this idea of Nagna Matrika logic. I found this really interesting. It's explaining that one would expect their mother to walk around naked because they were naked at birth. So basically it's kind of just saying like people don't change, you know. If you did something at one point in time, you know, then that's who you are for the rest of your life. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, he also, I was talking to Chidananda Prabhu about this this philosophy, this nyaya, and he gave the example of a kid's book which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj had written. I think it's the Upakyana Upadesh, and in there's a story about this little boy called Naked Pancho. Basically, he's like famous in the village for running around with just one piece of cloth around him, and everyone started calling him Naked Pancho. And then he goes into high school, and he's like growing up. He starts getting like A grades in his classes, and the teacher's like, "Oh, that Pancho boy, he's like a straight A student. He's such a great kid." And all the friends are like, "What? No, that's Naked Pancho. He's not a straight A student." But he just keeps going and maturing, and he gets his law degree. He goes and becomes like a high court magistrate, and these people are coming before Pancho when they should be saying Your Honor. They're calling him Naked Pancho. So it's just this idea that people get stuck in a certain mentality, a certain vision of a person. We often experience this. I think everyone can relate when they maybe go home and catch up with their parents or something like that, and mom's cooking something like, "Oh, you always loved this thing," and maybe you don't have the same taste anymore, but you have to go along with it or something like that. And I think a really prime example for devotees to make it maybe more spiritual rather than just, you know, growing up and changing tastes and things, but when we come to spiritual knowledge, when we get that seed of bhakti, we say in the morning, Chakshudan diloje janme janme prabhu se divya gyan hriday prakashito. So the spiritual master, he gives me knowledge birth after birth, and by him ignorance is destroyed. So when this knowledge comes, with knowledge comes a shift in values, and with the shift in values comes a change in behavior. So we see that when people receive knowledge, spiritual knowledge, your worldview is just naturally, it changes. And when that happens, you know, we see people who become devotees, their lives can change quite rapidly. Things which they used to be really attached to, unhealthy habits which were ways for them to cope with suffering in the material world, these things no longer are necessary, because they have this inner fulfillment which is coming from bhakti. Indradrumna Maharaj was saying there's like two things that come when we chant the holy name. One is relief, and one is ruchi, like taste, the sense of like pleasure. It's actually a joyful process, and so when somebody is bestowed with that great blessing to perform this process, naturally all these things fall away. I mean, I can give a personal example. Literally just yesterday, I had an old friend of a friend come and visit the temple, because he's making like a culture magazine, and he wanted to interview like that guy who became a Hare Krishna, and so he came over and we were catching up, and he said like, you know, so do you still see so and so? Are you still doing this and that? And I mean, I've been coming for like 3 years now. It's a gradual process of change, but for me, I just was like, I mean, no, I don't do those things anymore. All I could say was like, I just chant Hare Krishna. I just come and eat prasadam, and that's pretty much it. Um, yeah, I've heard His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Swami Maharaj. He calls devotees agents of Vamana Dev. Um, you could say like Vamandutas or something, because are we familiar with the story of Vamana, Lord Vamana Dev? He comes to Bali Maharaj and he says, I just request 3 steps of land. And he's this dwarf boy as well. It's the dwarf avatar of Krishna. And so he's asking for 3, not just 3 steps, but 3 half steps, you could say. And Bali Maharaj is like, there's more to the story, but he's like, yeah, you can take. And then Vamana Dev expands and expands. And with his first step, he covers the whole material cosmic manifestation. And he pretty much takes the whole kingdom. And like that, we come to the devotees and they say like, you don't have to be a Hare Krishna, relax, you don't have to change anything, just keep doing what you're doing. Just add Krishna, just add this Maha Mantra, a little bit of Krishna to your life. And you do that, you just add this tiny little, seed of bhakti, and it's amazing. You watch, because, Krishna is an ever-expanding ocean of nectar. So because his name is non-different, when we start chanting, Krishna expands in our life, and there's just less room for all of this, these nonsense activities that we used to do. So yeah, like that, I think Srila Prabhupada is sort of, like indirectly, he's kind of glorifying his own disciples, because I was reading an article from the Bhakta Ed magazine, which we still print every 2 months. There's a new issue available, but this article by Nagaraj Das, he was reflecting on what it was like being part of that time when all these Westerners were coming to this new Krishna consciousness movement, and people who were, addicted to drugs, people who are living on the street, people who are doing all sorts of, crazy things. Suddenly they're celibates, they're not eating meat, they're not drinking or taking alcohol or anything like that, taking drugs or anything like that. This massive shift in character. And I guess that's like the inspiration of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. We also hear about like stories when they would go to India, and Prabhupada would sort of get his American devotees, he would call them the white elephants, because he'd get these tall white American devotees dancing on stage in India, demonstrating, to the Indian people, like, if these Americans can do it, you know how fallen they are, what crazy things that they do. If they can chant Hare Krishna, if they can follow these 4 regulative principles, then why not give it a go? So yeah, like that, we see this change in character which takes place by the mercy of a pure devotee, or by the mercy of a Vaishnava. And yeah, I think I wanted to also touch on, because we spoke about the metaphor of the elephant, and we spoke about the white elephants of Srila Prabhupada. There's just like one more elephant I wanted to talk about before ending the class. We often speak about the mad elephant in Krishna consciousness. The mad elephant is the elephant which comes and causes a lot of disturbance to our process of devotional service. This elephant is a metaphor for Vaishnav aparad. So when we commit an offense to the feet of a Vaishnava, this is the one thing which can do the most damage to our creeper. We have this little creeper growing, and it's very fragile. Only because it's clinging to the stability of the lotus feet of Krishna can it keep growing. But if we let this mad elephant into our garden, or I kind of want to shift the metaphor a bit and bring it back to this idea of an elephant in the boat. We can say that our Krishna consciousness is a boat, and if we let this mad elephant come on board, we've heard the imagery already. This boat will become shaken and so unstable. Narad Muni also refers to Krishna consciousness as a boat. When he's instructing Vyasadeva, he says, Etad yatura chitanam matra sparshe chaya muhu bhava sindhu plavo drushto haricharyanu varnanam. he's saying that by his own personal experience, this is Narad Muni, who is the authority on devotional service. So, like, we have all these different rishis, and they're sort of given authority over different processes of spiritual processes. I think it's Marichi Rishi is the authority on Karma Kanda. Sanatan and Sanak Kumar are the authorities on speculative knowledge, Jnana. And like that, Narad Muni is the authority on devotional service. Actually, I think Prabhupada even specifies that he's the authority on glorification of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So Narad Muni is saying to Vyasadeva, by my own personal experience, those people who are suffering the anxieties and the lamentation, what we discussed, the sufferings of desiring to bring our senses in contact with a sense object, for these people there is a suitable boat which can take one over the ocean of nascience back to the supreme abode of the Lord, back to our original spiritual constitution, Shashvatam Param Avyayam, the eternal kingdom of God. So this spiritual boat is the chanting and the glorification of the Supreme Lord, His name, His pastimes, and His devotees. So yeah, basically He's inviting all of us to get on this boat, and especially not to invite this mad elephant with us as well. We must be careful. And like that, we can give up these lower kind of activities, lower attachments, and get fixed in our Krishna consciousness and achieve the only eternal happiness. I think Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says in chapter 2, what is it? Vishaya vinivartante naraharasya dehinaha rasa varjam rasopyasya param drushtva nivartate. If we try and become, austere yogis, and we just pull our senses away from sense objects to try and achieve this detachment and achieve happiness by our own endeavor like that, there's an example of like a turtle which pulls its limbs into its shell. Naturally the senses have been taken back, but the sense desire, the desire to have that contact still remains. So you'll find, people will give up some addiction for a period of time, and then later on they just, they fall down because the desire is still burning within them. So in contrast, there's an example of, taking the fangs out of the snake, and the snake bites, you don't get the poison. So you're still having that contact with the sense objects, but no longer is there suffering. And this comes about by achieving a higher taste. When we taste something higher, naturally we just lose interest. So yeah, basically, all that is just to say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy, as Srila Prabhupada instructed all of us. I can't remember who, but I was told that when Prabhupada says chant and be happy, he's not saying chant and you will be happy. He's telling us to chant, and he's telling us to be happy. We have to be attentive when we chant the holy name. We have to be attentive with our mind, but we also have to be attentive with our heart. So we can be chanting and we can be thinking about all this nonsense, and that's not so good, but it's still benefit. If we bring our mind, it's better. But if we engage our heart in chanting the Maha Mantra, very quickly we'll see a big change in our life for the better. So I just want to wrap up there. There's 10 minutes left. If anyone has any questions or comments or corrections, I'd be grateful. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, good question. I'm not so sure. Uh, yeah, I know like we were hearing from Sri Prahlad Prabhu recently when in his Bhagavatam class how uh, in devotional service we can still perform uh, other activities. You know, like jnana as well will also be part of devotional service. When we sit here, it's not so easy sitting through a 40-minute class, especially when that's me speaking. But this is jnana. We're taking in knowledge, or when we sit and read at the end of the day. This is the process of jnana. Similarly, we do ekadashi, like every 11th day of the moon cycle. We'll fast, and this is a form of austerity. But this is all supplementary to Krishna consciousness. Dhruva Maharaj, he's chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's the main focus point of his sadhana, given by Narad Muni. But of course, he's also they talk us quite detailed through the austerities that he's performing as well. But I think the idea is that it's just supporting his chanting of the mantra. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I mean, I'm no authority. I wouldn't know. I think, like you said, it's just a mix. He's using all these different processes, and he's mostly just following the instruction of Narad Muni. Um, so, I guess if Narad Muni is the authority on Bhakti Yoga, I would say he's performing Bhakti Yoga, and all these other processes. Yeah, they're just supplementary. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we shouldn't speculate, but I, I hear what you're saying. Definitely, it makes sense. Like, uh, Narad Muni is tailoring his process to his nature as a kshatriya, like you said. I mean, in Bhagavad Gita, we see Krishna instructs Arjuna. He talks him through all the different yoga processes before asserting that Bhakti Yoga is the supreme. Sarvadharman parityaja mamakam sharanam vraja. Just surrender unto me. Manmana bhava mad bhakto. Always think of me, become my devotee. That's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. But he does at the same time. He doesn't pretend that all these other processes aren't there. They are there. They're available because if someone is more drawn to these different processes, uh, then they can perform them, and they will gradually take one closer towards the ultimate goal, which is bhakti. Um, but if we can go straight to bhakti, then much better. But yeah, like you're saying, if Dhruv Maharaj, maybe that's a good potential reason. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Well, I think as well, Prabhupada was just suggesting she might, if she is using this Nagnamatrika logic, she might think like this. So it's not a detail that's given specifically this happened, but yeah, it's interesting. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hmm. Thank you. Okay, Jai. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.